Hi, my name is Lincoln Salazar. I am sitting here with a man that needs no introduction, the golden boy himself, Mr. Oscar De La Hoya. Thank you so much for being here today on Enthusiast Report. I really appreciate your time. So I've sat down with you since probably about 2015. And I've just seen so many great things that have been happening that you've been doing with Golden Boy. I know you have a fight coming up on July 8th.
Right.
Tell me a little bit about the fight that you guys have coming up.
We have a fighter, Vergil Ortiz, who is 19-0 and 19 knockouts. I'm calling him my next superstar in boxing. We've promoted fighters like Floyd Mayweather and Manny Pacquiao, Canelo Alvarez. We have Ryan Garcia, who's the now star in boxing. And my next superstar will be Vergil Ortiz. July 8th is a crucial moment for him. He'll be fighting for a world title. First time fighting a really tough, durable kid from, I believe he's Eastern European.
Yeah.
Those kids are very talented. And so if Vergil Ortiz wins, then we have the next superstar of boxing.
You said he go to Pacquiao. Is that correct?
Right. So if he wins the world title, then the idea would be to put together a mega event. Vergil Ortiz versus Manny Pacquiao. He beats Manny Pacquiao and he becomes the man in boxing. So very strategic moves we have to make in order to make him a superstar.
So when you're looking for a superstar in a boxer, what is it that you're looking for? What makes you?
Yeah.
What do you see early on? Are you looking at them when they're very young, such as 12 to 15?
Sure.
Are you looking at them at 18 to 21? What age are you looking at, and what makes it shine to you when you're looking for that superstar of this next boxer?
You know what's interesting is being the only promoter in boxing that has laced up the gloves. Because if you take a look at like the old school promoters like Don King and Bob Arum, and
they weren't boxers.
They weren't fighters. Yeah. They Bob Arum was in I believe the Kennedy administration as a lawyer. Don King, I mean, he was doing this thing back East Coast, but nobody laced up the gloves the way I did. So I know something that they don't know, and it's all instinctual. When I see a fighter, because I get DMs, I get this, I get that, left and right from fighters who want to be signed to Golden Boy.
I can imagine.
And every fighter's good. Every fighter has talent. Every fighter has the work ethic, and they're disciplined fighters, and they have talent. But I have to look into your eye. I have to feel something, sense something, just the way I did with Canelo Alvarez. Mm-hmm. When nobody wanted to sign him at the age of 18, he was from Mexico. Nobody had heard of him. We took that chance. We rolled the dice, and he became the biggest fighter on the planet.
Yeah.
Obviously Floyd Mayweather was already established, but we were able to promote 15 of his most recent fights. And there's a reason why they come to us is because obviously we know what we're doing.
Did you ever think with Floyd Mayweather that he would become as big as he has?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
When he fought me, Floyd Mayweather was fighting live on HBO for a few $1 million. And now, after he beat me, I instantly knew that he would become a superstar. Not only because he beat me, but because the way he carried himself, the way he knows how to play the role. In every movie, you have a hero and you have a villain.
Yeah.
So he knows how to play that villain part. And when I say play, that's all it is. He's genius.
He's a showman.
In what he does, he's a showman. So when he beat me in that moment, and he was playing that part afterwards during the press conference and inside the ring, I was like, wait a minute, this kid has a lot of charisma and talent when it comes to selling fights. So, we got together, we put together the biggest fights in boxing history, and
so
everything was good.
Let's go back. So, Hispanic heritage from East LA.
Sure.
So let's go back to Oscar De La Hoya as a teenager, as a child. Yeah. What got you into boxing? What was the moment that what got you into boxing? What was the history behind that?
My brother was the chosen one in my family. He's 4 years older, and So the boxing blood obviously is in our DNA. It's my father was a fighter, my grandfather was a fighter. So he was the chosen one to carry on that, I guess, little legacy that they had going on. And so my brother was a great fighter. He was, I mean, the only part that was missing was the discipline. He didn't like it.
Yeah.
He didn't. I mean, what kid likes getting hit, right? At 7 years old. So, so when he retired from boxing at the tender age of like 12,
Yeah.
So then my father chose me. Like,
Yeah.
okay, you're gonna be the next one. And so I loved it. I love the fact of hitting somebody and getting paid for it. It was crazy. My very first fight as an amateur.
A lot of people make a lot of money a year doing that. So.
Sure, yeah, but it was funny because I beat this little kid.
Yeah.
We were only like 6, 7 years old.
It was like a street fight.
No,
like,
no,
like
it
a
was
little
an
kid,
actual
boxing,
boxing
match.
boxing match.
Oh wow.
And I get out of the ring after I win, and I have my little trophy, little plastic trophy, and one of my uncles hands me over $1, and he goes, "Good job, son." And I'm looking at $1 for us when we're 6, 7 years old is like, I mean, it's
Absolutely.
a lot of money.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, wow, I started thinking, wait, maybe I can do something with this here. Maybe, if I keep on winning, I can win more money.
Yeah.
And that's just the way my passion towards fighting started.
With your discipline in the sport of boxing, when you were growing up, especially in East LA, did you get in a lot of street fights? Were you challenged a lot as you were in boxing, or were people less likely to challenge you because they knew of you for boxing?
I was actually challenged more because they knew I was in boxing, but never got into a street fight.
Really?
Never, ever, and never got into a street fight. The only time I was challenged older in my career, I was challenged somewhere in Florida. This kid came up to me. I'm not kid. He was 6'8", like 260.
Yeah.
And he was running at me, trying to punch me, and I ducked under the punch. And I think he was a little intoxicated, and he fell over. He was so big, he fell over and just knocked himself out. And so I'm 1-0 without throwing a punch in the street. So imagine that.
What was your routine as a young man? What was the discipline? So you say it was was your father, would you say, was the biggest influence for you for becoming a boxer or in the sport of boxing?
Well, he was. So he would push me like.
Was he tough?
I mean, as tough as they get. I mean, at 6, 7 years old, I would literally have to wake up like at 5 a.m.
Oh.
So it was very military for me. But I loved it. For some reason, I just gravitated towards it.
It was a challenge?
Yeah, it was a challenge. That $1 changed everything for me.
Yeah.
I was like, wow. I mean, because we grew up we were humble, we were poor, we were just, we were literally, with nothing. And so I just thought, my gosh, I can maybe do something with this. And after many years of training in the amateur ranks and winning tournaments and becoming number one in the nation, eventually in the world, then the Olympics come up. So the discipline didn't happen overnight because, you still want to be a kid.
Yeah.
You still want to go and play with your kids. You have school. You have other, extracurricular activities that you're doing,
How much were you training?
I was training every single day.
Yeah.
Because I was forced, because I had to do this. So I was trying to manage everything around me, with playing in the streets with my friends, school, chores at home, and then the gym and the running in the morning. So I would say that, living in East LA and life, and my mother and my father having to give me discipline and chores and the boxing, it's like I learned how to be disciplined. I learned how to structure everything in my life at an early age.
Did you ever think that when you were young, did you ever imagine that boxing would be your career and you'd be so known as an icon in the sport? Did you visualize that? Did you think about that, or were you just loving the sport and just had a passion for it and it happened?
I didn't envision I'm going to become famous and this and that, win world title. I envisioned winning money, it was all about money for some strange reason when I was young.
It's like a business to you then.
Well, when I was 6 years old, handed that first dollar, I said, okay, man, I can make money, right? Fighting every weekend. We were fighting every weekend. So, and at the age of like 9, 10 years old, I convinced myself this can be my profession. This can maybe possibly be my job and win world titles and win more money and become successful. At 9 years old, I think I started thinking like that.
When you were doing the Olympics at the time, there probably wasn't a lot of money in that, right?
Zero.
Yeah, there was no money in it, right?
No money.
But except for that
$1 that my uncle...
except for the $1 you got. So it took you years to get that, make more than that $1, right? And then...
Well,
and I heard you used to actually walk around with
my gold medal.
With your gold medal.
Right.
You'd be out and about.
Oh yeah.
Whether it's having fun with friends or something, you'd have it. Yeah. They say, "Do you have the medal?" And you'd show it, right?
It would get me. Free lunches.
Get you a lot of it.
Free dinners. Yeah, but in the amateurs, you don't get paid.
Yeah.
In the Olympics, winning the gold, you don't get paid. So it's right after turning professional is when you sign the big contracts and you get lucky and sign with a big promoter and a big network and then it becomes a business.
When do you think the turn was for you in boxing from, let's say, doing amateur boxing to obviously to professional boxing? But what do you think was the big turn for you? Obviously, maybe the Olympics, but what else do you think was the big turn for you where it became this career and you, let's say you went over that peak? When do you think that pivotal moment was?
It was right from the start. And when I say that, when I won the Olympics, it was like the biggest story in the whole Olympics because I had dedicated the gold medal to my mother. She passed away from cancer right before I went to the Olympics. It was live on NBC worldwide. And so everybody was talking about, this kid from East LA winning the gold medal for his mother. That was the whole story. So when I won, I remember landing at LAX airport and opening the doors, and there was like thousands of people waiting for me. And I'm asking the stewardess, they're like, who the hell are these people for? Like, why? And she's like, they're here for you.
Wow.
And my life just changed.
Like that.
Just like that, instantly. I was 18 years old. Yeah. My life changes. My first fight is for, almost $1 million. And that's unheard of.
Especially that was in what year was that?
That was 1992.
Yeah,
that was 1992. And so everything, I was getting endorsements and left and right from the start. So it's like I had no time to breathe. I had no time to take a break. I went straight to professional. I went straight to signing the big deals and the big contracts. And yet I'm still a kid.
Yeah.
Who
was around you during that time to kind of, let's say protect you almost? Or was there people around you that didn't protect you, that were just eating you alive?
Sure.
And because that happens. You have in every business, you have people that just, suck off the teat of everybody else. Who was it? Did you have people around you that kind of, this is a good deal, this is a bad deal? Where because your background at the time was not so much business, but it was boxing, and you were 18 years old, right? So did you have that around you?
You know what we did? I literally had a flip of the coin and see who's good for me and see who's not. That's the way we would make decisions.
Really?
Yeah, we didn't know anything. My father, he's a hard worker. At the time he was, I believe, digging up graves in a cemetery. Supplying for our family. Yeah. So I didn't really know business. I didn't know how to deal with lawyers and contracts and this and that. So we would literally flip the coin, like, let's see who's better for us. We had great deals on the table all the time, but it was just like a roll of the dice, basically. And I'm glad it turned out that way the first year, because the first year I lost everything. The first year I was making a lot of money, but I also had the entourage. I had
spending more than you made.
Oh my gosh, it was crazy.
You need the entourage.
I remember one time, yes, I had managers now at the time. Yeah. I had a promoter, I had agents, this, that. So I was just a kid buying cars and buying homes and this and that. And I remember after 12 fights, and this is the first year, I'm fighting every month. I decided to ask questions.
Yeah.
You know, and I just turned 19 now. I decided to ask questions, and I told I now had like a business manager. I go, how much money do I have in the bank?
Yeah.
And he tells me, oh shit, you have $12,000 in the bank. I'm like, okay, something has to change.
Yeah.
And so in that first year, I learned everything.
You learned very early on.
I learned early on. I literally started reading up. My favorite book is the Art of the
War.
Yeah, I love that book.
Love Art of War.
And taught me a lot. I mean, it didn't teach me everything, but I had to learn everything on the spot, so to speak. But I'm so glad that I was literally broke after the first year, because I cleaned house, I hired new people. My thinking was just different. Like, I want to save every penny now.
Yeah.
I want to be smart. I want to hire smarter people than I am and surround myself by really, really good entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
And everything changed for me then.
So when you got your first big check,
Yeah.
when you won your first big check,
Right.
and you can say if you want how big it was, it's up to you. What was your feeling right after you got that first big check? And then what did you do? What was your first response?
Yeah.
Because I mean, anyone that doesn't come from means,
Sure.
and you get that first big check.
Oh, yeah.
It's like this, almost like,
Oh.
what do I do now, right?
Oh,
And then
sure. Yeah.
The next day you're kind of
I've
like,
made it. Yeah.
yeah, I made it, right? But so what was your feeling, and what did you do?
I mean, first of all, I couldn't believe it. I saw it, and I was like, wow, that's a lot of zeros,
Yeah.
right? And, you know, you're happy, and it's like you want to spend it all. In one day, you want to just spend it all. My first reaction was, man, I want to see this in cash.
Yeah.
Literally, I said, I want to go to the bank, and I want to see it in cash. And I did. And I think I spent it all. I don't know in how many days or weeks, because I had a big posse.
Yeah. You have to be on a rush. Yeah.
But like I said, that first year just taught me everything. I guess I can say that first year, I'm glad I spent a lot of money. I'm glad that I was reckless. I'm glad that I was buying, you know, assets that were just not valuable. I mean, like cars, right?
Depreciating. Yeah.
Yeah, that were depreciating. I bought my father a home, you know, took care of the family.
Yeah.
So in that first year, it's like I felt that I did it all. I took care of everyone. And therefore now I can start thinking for myself, you know, with my finances and keep everything. So it was a big learning experience that first year.
So I have a statement that I kind of live by, and I say, and it's a hustler, an entrepreneur, and a businessman. So I say there's these three different levels that people start at. There's, if you're hustlers are very, let's say, short term. You're trying to make that quick cash. That's like when you have that cash, because you've really developed into an entrepreneur and a businessman. And I would never say you were, because you were in sports, and I would say the hustler was there. Maybe there was. That's what I want to know. But the hustler's kind of short term. You're trying to make that quick cash. You're spending more than you make, but you're short term thinking. Then you have an entrepreneur who's more of like a visionary, right? It's got the big picture. We're going to make this big, and here's the plan, right? And then you have a businessman who's very calculated and looks at numbers and makes sure that everything's that. But if you're one of too many, if you're too much of a hustler, you're too short term. If you're an entrepreneur, you're a visionary, so you're not focusing on the actual business side of the business, right? And if you're a businessman, you might see the numbers but not see the vision. Out of those three categories, what do you think relates mostly to you? Is the hustler, the entrepreneur, or the businessman, or all three?
I would say all three. I would say all three, and you know, it's all about balance.
Yeah.
You know, if you can balance those three, then you have something good going. Yeah. You know, and for some miraculous reason, I was able to balance after that first year.
Yeah.
After being that hustler, after being, you know, maybe a visionary, after spending all that money and literally, and I don't know if it was just, I was doing it consciously just to learn that lesson. I don't know what it was, but I learned everything in that first year. And so I learned just to balance everything out.
Do you teach that to your boxers that you have today that fight with Golden Boy? Do you talk about these stories of how you growing up and try to get them not to make some of the mistakes that you made,
Sure.
and then obviously put them in the right direction of things you've done great? Do you mentor it all like that?
That's the advantage that as a promoter, being able to speak to these kids, because I've been there, I've done that. They have a mentor that they can literally pick up the phone. Every single fighter I have has my personal number, and they can call me anytime they want with advice, because I've committed a lot of errors. Because obviously to become successful you have to go through the fire, and I've been through that fire many times, and so I have the experience and the trust, which is very important. I've been able to have this good relationship with all my fighters and make sure that they trust me. Because when you're putting them up in the ring and fighting for money and fighting for their life, they have to trust you. You have to be able to talk to them and give them the advice. And when they listen, it's a game changer for them, because they start to think about, okay, how can I save my money? How can I become like Oscar? How can I become an entrepreneur? How can I make some investments? So yeah, it's pretty cool to have a promoter that was a fighter.
Yeah, there's a fighter because you can relate to them.
I can relate to them.
Like you're saying, Don King was never a fighter,
right?
So he's not. He was never on the same level of you when it came to that.
Exactly.
Spend all my money on all booze, on drug cocktails and all Caribbean cruise. Yes, I spend all my money on these pretty things, but I ain't got no shilling left for me on a Jack in the Box.
When starting Golden Boy Promotions, you have a lot of different ventures. You have real estate. You have other companies that you own.
Sure.
Tell me a little bit about some of the things that you have going on lately too. And I know you have a documentary coming out too.
Yeah, we do. Right? What one thing about myself is that I don't like putting my hands into too many projects, or I like to limit myself with maybe like 4 or 5 at a time. That's it. That's my focus. Like right now, my big focus is obviously Golden Boy, because I strongly feel this is my biggest asset. When all said and done. I have Golden Boy, and then I have the Houston Dynamo, which I got into, pretty substantial investment there. And that's a whole different dynamic. Now you're dealing with corporate America, but you're dealing with athletes as well, with soccer players, and the mentality is all the same.
They're young still too.
They're young, and so you have to. It's all balance. I have real estate, buildings that we've bought here in downtown, or whether it's real estate across the country. I've been able to connect myself with the right people. And I think that's been one of the key, I guess the key components, like making sure I connect myself with the right people, the right business people, the right partners, where we're aligned and we have the same vision. And we just, one important factor that I have to follow through on is I make sure I take every project to the finish line. And that's important because I can get into different businesses, and every business takes time. Every business can take a year. Every business can take 3 years, for it to blossom, for you to see, results. It takes time. It takes a lot of energy, but a lot of times, and I see with other people, you don't take that business to the finish line because it might be taking too long, or because maybe there's financial distress or whatever it might be. You don't take it to the finish line. I make sure that every project that I take on, I take it to the finish line, whether it fails or not. It's very important for me to take it to the finish line.
What are the 3 disciplines that you practice? Do you have any kind of rule of discipline that you like to practice when in your head, especially when you talk about going to the finish line? Do you have any kind of key factors of your when it comes to whether it's competing in boxing or when it comes to business or even comes to home life? Is there any three factors that you or any factors that you have that reach that success?
I think it's just I think it's really putting all your focus and energies into something. You know, you can't literally half-ass something and make and think that it's gonna turn out great.
Yeah.
You know, it's like if somebody doesn't work, then what's gonna happen? You're gonna fire that person. You're gonna get somebody else, or you know. But if that person is really working and putting 100% of his passion, of his you know, of himself, then you know, he's doing a good job. She's doing a good job, and you keep that person, right, and you grow. I everything I do, I try to do it with passion. I try to give it my all. I try to, you know, take it to the finish line. I don't half-ass, because when you do that, then you know, things start crumbling. That your empire starts crumbling. You know, you have to stay on top of it. You have to, you know, have that same passion right from the start all the way till the end.
Yeah. Speaking of passion, you have your girlfriend Holly now, right? Yeah. Tell me a little bit about you guys. I've seen that you're pretty happy, and you know, you guys are a lot on social media, and you guys are out and about, and I know you guys got a lot of things going on together. But everyone I talk to you says you're just smiling ear to ear now. Tell me a little bit, you guys. How are things going?
It's been amazing. It's been amazing, and she's an entrepreneur herself. She's got that mentality herself, and what's cool is that when you have a partner that supports you, when you have a partner that pushes you, a partner that wants to see you better, a partner that wants to see you succeed and grow, it's like, whoa. It's like literally having a CEO like 24/7 in your pocket, you know, and a babysitter, and you know, all of the above. She's like everything for me, so it's pretty cool. But I love the fact that she's tough.
Yeah,
I love the fact that, let's say one day I want to go golfing, but I have to be at the office and I have to stay. Like, she'll be the one like, no, you're not golfing. You're going to go to the office and get shit done.
She pushes you.
She pushes me. She
that trainer
motivates you.
Yeah, motivates you.
Yeah, she's literally everything. I mean, including, like I said, a babysitter.
So you were just at the film festival in New York, right, for the documentary?
Tribeca Film Festival.
Tribeca Film Festival, right? You were out there with, I think Mario was out there, Mario Lopez, too.
Mario was there, and Mark Wahlberg was there.
Yeah.
He's actually the producer.
Oh, really? I didn't know
film.
That. Wow.
Yeah, Unrealistic and his company. You know, it's funny the way that went about. I'm good friends with Mario Lopez. We go 30 years.
That's how I met you.
Right. So we go 30 years, and he's a huge boxing fan. And he mentioned to me, just like 10 other producers mentioned to me, oh, you should do a documentary about your life and a film and this and that. And I was like, well, I'm not ready yet. Let me think about it. Mm. And so when this opportunity presented itself, with Mark Wahlberg and Unrealistic and Mario with NBC Universal, and you know, I said to myself, you know what? Maybe it's time. Maybe it's time I tell my story. I'm retired now from boxing. I've been retired now for 15 years.
That long? Wow.
It's been that long.
You look great, by the way.
It's crazy. Thank you. It's a lot of good doctors. Yeah. Holly knows all the good doctors. Yeah. But it's been 15 years, and I said to myself, you know what? Why don't we pursue it? And so we talked to Mark and HBO, and so
So was it Mario's idea to do the documentary, or was there other producers hitting you up, and you and Mario were talking about it?
It was other producers were hitting me up. Since I'm close with Mario, I said, you know what? Let's try it out. Who can you bring on board that's gonna make it successful? Who's gonna, you know, that I have a history with? And so HBO made perfect sense, and Unrealistic, and Mark Wahlberg, and he's a big HBO guy.
That's right, huh? Because he had the entourage.
And so, organically, it just happened beautifully. It was perfect. And we created this documentary that is just unbelievable.
What do you know when it's supposed to air yet? Do you have that?
Yeah, so we opened up Tribeca.
It got awards, didn't it?
It's called The Golden Boy.
Yeah, the Golden Boy.
It's called The Golden Boy. It's a 2-part series, 90 minutes each. And it's going to air July 24th and 25th on Max.
Oh, wow. That's exciting.
Yeah. So it's pretty exciting because I'm excited by it, and it's pretty scary because I let it all out.
Yeah.
But what I'm very proud of is that this documentary is like a tell-all. It's just like raw.
Really?
Oh my god!
What are we going to expect to see?
Oh, everything.
What kind of things are we going to address?
Everything.
Really?
Oh, it's gonna be a tearjerker. It's gonna be like a motivational piece. It's gonna be like, wow, holy shit, he just said that.
Yeah.
Did that just happen to him? His life and this and that. I'm talking about everything. I have my father on it. I have my brother. You're gonna be able to feel the emotions of my brother, who was supposed to be the fighter, the champion, and now he's not. And it's just all the emotion, the family dynamic, and it's pretty crazy. It's pretty cool. And then all the shit I went through, it's pretty raw.
Does your brother still box at all? Do you guys still get in the ring? No,
he's out of it.
Oh, you said he stopped at 12. He stopped at young age.
Exactly. He retired at 12, and no, he just went to school. He played baseball, and he's now just doing business. He has a management company where he manages fighters. We help him out. So it's a family business.
With Golden Boy, how do you see the competitive market now with MMA, or do you see competitive markets? So how have you seen boxing change over the last 20 years, especially since UFCs came out and MMA? Yeah. What do you see and what's your thoughts with the UFC and MMA and traditional boxing?
Yeah, no, first of all, I have to commend what the Fertitta brothers did and Dana White and with the UFC. People instantly were thinking, well, UFC is going to take over boxing, because it's the combat space. Yeah. And no, it's separate businesses. I mean, there's different audiences for both sports, but it's been a compliment.
Yeah.
Because a lot of these UFC fans are curious to see what's on the other side. Mm-hmm. So it's in terms of numbers, pay-per-view, in terms of viewerships, in terms of ticket sales, everything has been, on the way up for boxing.
Do you think it's helped boxing in a way?
It's actually helped boxing because, like I said, there's a crossover effect right now, especially like with these YouTubers and fighters like Jake Paul who are talking about MMA and doing boxing. It's been a great commercial for both sports when these YouTubers talk about boxing, when they have millions and millions of followers. Yeah. All these fans are curious now. Okay, what's boxing all about? What's MMA all about? So both sports have really, I guess, enjoyed, I guess, the fruits of that success.
What were your thoughts when you saw your first UFC fight? Or let's say, I guess it'd be jiu-jitsu. What's the category?
MMA or
MMA. Yeah. Sorry, MMA. What was your thoughts when you saw your first MMA fight?
I was against it. I didn't really, because I'm a purist. I'm a boxing purist, and I didn't really see the talent. I really didn't, or I didn't want to see it. Mm-hmm. Because I'm here. I come from the Muhammad Ali days and the Sugar Ray Leonards and the Chavez and the best fighters on the planet boxing and looking beautiful. And then you see these MMA fighters in the beginning, there was really like no skill. It was just
two guys in a cage just being the hell out of each other.
Two guys in a cage, it was like a bona fide street fight. But now that it has evolved, there's a big appreciation for it.
To it.
Yeah, it's a huge sport. And not only that, these fighters are getting better. They're getting faster, stronger. They're becoming these machines, it's very admirable.
I've always loved boxing. I just think I'm kind of a purist that same way too. Like I like baseball. I think I'm purist to that too. They're changing a bunch of rules in baseball too. But as it's helped the business, do you guys ever have, let's say, fights around the same time that you can see a change in attendees coming to the ticket sales, anything like that? Do you see a difference in that or no?
There's been a wave of MMA fans who've transitioned over to boxing,
Which I've noticed, by
and
the way.
vice versa, which has helped in ticket sales and the viewerships, like I said. But it can also hinder both sides if you have a major pay-per-view fight on this side of the street, and then you have a UFC pay-per-view fight going at it at the same time.
Yeah.
You can see the drop-off in numbers with both sports, with
kind of splitting
viewerships,
it.
it's kind of like you're splitting the pie, and it's like you have to come to an agreement, with each other. Like it's kind of like having a calendar and saying, okay, well, we're gonna do these fights on these dates, and you can have these dates, and just so we won't cross, our audience and lower our numbers, basically.
What do you think about like these YouTubers and stuff like Jake Paul and them getting into boxing? Do you think it's good for the sport, or do you think it's bad, or do you think they're, as a purist, do you think they're making exploiting it?
I don't have a problem with YouTubers getting into boxing if they're gonna take it serious.
Yeah.
If they're not gonna take it serious and it's all maybe a money grab, or it's a kind of like a joke. I mean,
like
you're
an
going out
expedition
there-
fight where it's
yeah,
not
an
really a real
exhibition
boxing,
fight.
yeah.
It's not real. It's literally making a mockery out of the sport. That's the way I see it. But if you're serious about it, like Jake Paul, I've been a Jake Paul fan right from the beginning, and he knows it. I've told him many times, I love what you're doing. I love that you're a kind of like an ambassador, in a way, a voice. You're attracting new fans, which is great for boxing. It's growing. Everybody's winning. But as long as you're serious about boxing, and he's probably more serious than contenders and world champions. When he trains, he's very disciplined, and I love it. I love it because it's growing the sport. It's attracting new eyeballs to the sport that literally built everything I have.
Yeah. I like to end with, you've done so much in your lifetime, and you're still very young and healthy, and you're still disciplined. You do amazing things. And congratulations just on the amazing things you've done in your life. What is the legacy that you would like to leave behind? And that could be personally, or that could be within business, that could be within the sport of boxing. You already have a legacy in boxing. Yeah. What's the legacy you'd like to leave behind?
Cool. Yeah, the legacy is it's pretty simple now. It's crazy. I've won many world titles. I've won the gold medal.
Yeah.
I've been the champion for the people. I've been the golden boy. I was labeled that right from the start in 1992 when I won the gold medal in Barcelona. My life changed. I did everything for everybody else, and everything I was doing, I was like a machine. I was like taking care of these people and taking care of my family and doing the right thing for everybody else, And I loved doing it, don't get me wrong, and it made me a lot of money and business and this and that. But the one thing that I was missing was my partner. The one thing that I was missing is having that long-lasting relationship that I control, that I built. If I put my efforts into it, if I put 100% of my life into my partner, into my she's like my business.
Yeah.
Then I get it back. It's like this reciprocal effect. I mean, we bounce off each other left and right. So I want to say, when I'm 85 years old and I look at her in the eyes and say, we did it. We made it. That's my legacy.
We did it.
Because I've never had that.
Thank you so much for your time today. I very much appreciate it. I look forward to speaking to you.
Thank you, brother.
Absolutely. It's always great to hang out.
Appreciate you, man.
Okay.
Thanks.
Oh, let me give this to him too. You guys a sec? Yeah. Oh, I want to give you a box. So
Perfect ending, because I was going to get all teary-eyed and shit.
You got to get that one where just the tears running down his eyes. How's it go? He's saying this. Did Holly just walk in?
Yeah, right. I saw her pass by right there.
I want to give you a box of my cigars. So I only do about,
nice,
this is from my private reserve in the Dominican Republic.
Oh, beautiful.
So I only do about 500 boxes of these a year.
Beautiful.
And it's got a San Andreas wrapper with a Nicaraguan and Dominican filler. But it's some of the most sought after tobacco in the world. And I only give these out to friends and family. And then it's for, I only do these once a year for fundraising as well. So I want to give you a box.
Appreciate you, brother. Thank you.
Absolutely.
All right. Beautiful. Hey, what's up? This is Oscar De La Hoya. Yeah, don't miss my documentary, July 24, 25, on Max. It'll be a shocker. It'll be unlike anything you've ever seen before. That's what, it's crazy. That's what people were telling me. It's like, bro, like we've never seen anything like this. Like somebody like in your position, will never ever talk the truth like this. Like you got all these like sugar coating.
Yeah, you got a sugar coating. The documentary is just unfiltered.
This is. Crazy.
I can't wait to see that.
Yeah, this is crazy.
I can't wait to see it.
It's pretty shocking.
It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, but it's like at the. I love the way it ends. It's like it doesn't end with me like a fucking hero. No, like life is fucking beautiful. No, it just continues. Like it's just like okay, Oscar. He's done this, he's done that, he's been through all this shit. And this and that. He's got kids. How are those relationships? And it tells you everything, the truth. And so, I mean, my kids are talking shit about me on the documentary. My older ones, but it's the truth, And so, the documentary ends where it's like, I want to see what he's doing now.
Yeah.
So we're gonna follow it up with a docuseries, a 6-part docuseries.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Where it's like now the Oscar now, the happy Oscar now.
I was gonna say that there's still plenty more years to get even more going.
Plenty more years, So there you go.